This video is makeup work for week 2, which is about inheritance. So I've got a number of comments here that the class will start off with. I'm going to go through how we're going to do this. So we're going to create an employee class. We're also going to create a subclass of employee called teacher, and in a subclass of that called adjunct teacher. So let's start with the employee class. We've got fields here of an employee name, so that means string name and int ID, and we're also going to have hours, and we're going to have a salary, double salary. Okay, then we're going to do constructor, so that's going to be public, and then no return type, and then the name of the class. That's how the compiler knows that it's a constructor. Then it takes as parameters these fields right here. All right. And then we're just going to do the setters. Yeah, actually, no, let's just do this quickly. Okay, so let's do this dot name equals name, this dot ID equals ID, this dot hours equals hours. Okay, this dot salary equals salary. Now, you notice I've got defaults up here. Where does that come into play? What we're going to do is, because we want to be able to create an employee without having to specify the hours and salary, because most of our employees are going to have those hours and salary. So we're going to create a secondary constructor. So again, it's going to start off same way. Let me just copy this line here. We're not going to need all that, but let's take a name that's going to be unique, and ID is going to be unique, but we're not going to take the hours and salary. Instead, the hours are going to default to 40 hours, and the salary is going to be 50,000. Okay, so now a client can call to create an employee without having to specify the hours and salary. Let's go ahead and actually write some of that. So we're going to create an employee John Doe. It's got to be new. Always call new, and then the name of the class, employee. And then we're going to pass in exactly those things. And because we have now created a constructor that only takes those two things, that's all we have to do. We didn't have to pass in the hours, the salary. Okay, now let's go to the, by the way, let's see what the red X is. Yeah, it's not used, that's fine. Let's go ahead and just sys out of John. And we're also going to need, before we can actually run that, we're going to need to do a toString. So no parameters. It returns a string. So let's build that string. I'm going to use string format, which is something you really want to be able to do. And all I have to do is take this format here, create a string for that. Then I need to fill in ID equals %D. Oh, actually, we need a name. Yeah, employee name. Did I? Yeah, I didn't do that. Okay, so name equals %S. Employee %D. Hours equals %D, salary %F. So now it's going to be name, ID, hours, salary, with the important addition of this dot. We're going to put that in front of each of these. Okay, that string.format. And the red X is because I think we just enclose something here. this quote. We're missing an open quote. Okay. Not two quotes, one quote. Okay, there we go. Close that. And now the red X just says ID. Okay, so it's a capital ID. All right, now we can run it. And there we go, John Doe. Let's move this window down here. I'm going to click on the top there and drag it here and minimize this. Okay. And notice how the floating point came in really very long. Let's fix that. Let's make it 2 decimal points. All right. So we've created our employee. Now let's. So I'm going to skip doing the getters and setters just for time, but you need to put in the getters and setters. All right. So Jane. So now we got a teacher. Jane. We haven't created the class yet, but I'll get to that in a second. We want to be able to create a new teacher of these three things. Okay, so we're going to have to go create that constructor. Let's go and create the class. So not public, but class teacher. And we're going to take the, we don't have to do the same fields that we did before, okay? We don't have to do any of those fields because that's going to be in the superclass. And to make it a superclass, we have to put the keyword extends employee. Okay, extends is the keyword, employee is the name of the class that is our superclass up here. And let's, so what we do need to do though is we need to have different defaults here. So we're going to create a constructor. Oh, we are going to add a class size though before I do that. Class size. So that's a new field. So again, it's going to be public, and then the name of the class, teacher, that tells us, the compiler, that this is a constructor. And we are going to take the similar things here. Take that. And then a class size. Now, how do we construct the basic employee? Well, you do that by calling the superclass's constructor. And to do that, you just do this. Okay, that is going to fill in all the default fields for the employee. Then we have to still fill in what class size is. So this dot class size equals what's the default of let's say 30. Okay. And let's create one that doesn't need a class size with the default. Okay. Okay, now the super is complaining. Constructor employee is undefined. Oh, almost forgot. We need to have a default constructor. In order to call actually no, what we're going to do is we're going to call, we don't want to use the null constructor. We want to actually pass in the same name and ID. Okay, so superclass name. Oh, can't pass in the types. It's got to be name and ID. All right, so that's going to call that constructor. Now here, if we don't want the class size, what we should just do is actually call the same constructor as that we just created. And the way you call a constructor in the same class is you just say this. Okay, so this, and then we need to pass in these same two parameters, 3 parameters, sorry. So we're going to have the name, ID, and the class size. Okay, except that the class size is going to default to 30. All right. So let's do that. And again, I'm going to skip. We really should do the getters, setters, and we should have a toString. But we're going to skip that for now. Let's just create that teacher, which we've done. And then we're going to sys out the teacher, Jane. Okay, let's run that. Okay, so what it did is it's got John and Jane. It's got their IDs, default hours, their salary. But you notice how it didn't print out anything about the class size. Why is that? Because we didn't override class size, the toString, to print the class size. So what we can do is this. We can add a toString. So the book doesn't talk about this, but you can specifically, just like here and actually here, we can call the superclass's toString. We can call it by super.toString. And what we can do is we can return that plus class size equals plus this dot class size. Now, it's not going to be perfect because it's going to have the close brace. Yeah, that's unfortunate. The close brace is going to end. But let's just go with it. Okay, obviously you could fix it, but let's just do it. There it is. Class size equals 25. In fact, let's just do this funny kind of thing just to show where the thing actually ends. Okay, like that. All right. Now we need an adjunct teacher. So first let's write so new adjunct teacher with the same things I just put up here. Okay, so an adjunct teacher takes the same 3 things there. Let's sys out Joe. And let's go down. We need to actually create the adjunct teacher. So, going to be very similar. Let's just try copying that to start. Okay, so we're not going to extend employee. This will be a teacher. We're going to extend teacher. We no longer need class size because teacher already has that. And we're going to rename this to refactor rename adjunct teacher. I wonder if, yes, it did. Okay, good. Adjunct teacher extends teacher. Okay, so we still need the 3 parameters. It's going to do, so this will call teacher's superclass with the 2 parameters. And let's make sure we have that. Yes, we do. And we don't want to default. We can actually call it the super with all 3. Okay, we don't need to do this. All right, so that's going to call the superclass's constructor. And so this one, it doesn't take. We're going to do the super constructor again, and this time we're going to pass in the 30. Oh, wait, did I say, let's have this default only 15. Okay, class size of 15. And then, so the toString already is going to return the class size. So we don't need to do any of that. We can just return the super's toString. Okay, so let's see what happens now. In fact, we don't need that 15 at all. Let's get rid of that. And let's just do this. In fact, let's get rid of this one. We don't need that either. Okay, there we go. So the default's kicked in. So the teacher had class size of 30. The adjunct teacher had class size of 15. But you know, we can't tell which class this is. So I'm going to change the toString to be teacher plus that. And here, this will be adjunct teacher. Let's run that. Okay, so now it actually gets teacher, adjunct teacher, and finally let's change the toString for employee. All right, now there are some things that we talked about doing which have not been done here, so let's go in here. So we printed these. Let's go in here. So we did all of that. We did that. We did. Okay, so we didn't do this. Okay, salary should default to half of the employee, right? Because the salary here is still 50,000. Okay, so teachers. So this one here just calls this one here. So this is where we want to change the salary. So this dot salary equals the, we need to be, there's two ways we could do this. And I want to show you the way, there's two, I'll show you both ways, okay? So we could start with this dot salary divided by 2. Okay, let's just try that first of all. Does that work? So now salary is 25,000. So yes, that works. But there's another way we can do this. Let's go back to the employee. Let's get a getter public double get salary. Turn this dot salary. Oh, it's not a method. Okay, so if we do that, then what we can do is we can call the super dot get salary divided by 2. Let's run that. And yes, that does work. And let's change this salary to be see, now I didn't have to write this dot get salary for teacher, okay, because I'm talking about the it's not this, it's super dot get salary. Why didn't I have to write get salary here? Because get salary is just inherited from employee. So there it shows you the advantage of inheritance. So we're going to get the salary and of the teacher, and then we're going to subtract 20% times 0.8. Okay, so let's see if that works. So teacher was 25. Nope, didn't work. So why not? Adjunct teacher is equal to the super's get salary times 0.8. Let's just debug it and see. Set a breakpoint by double-clicking there. Click the debugger. And we are not debugging because oh, well, that tells us right there that this never gets called. Why not? Oh, it's because this is the one being called. So this is the one being called, therefore it's calling, oh, this is calling it super. It should be calling it this. That's the bug right there. So now it's going to work. Kaboom! It dropped right into it. Exactly what I wanted. So let's go ahead and stop the debugging and let's run it now. Let's get rid of this window, or let me put it down there. Okay, now let's run it. All right, salary equals 20,000. There we go. Okay, so the salary is 20% less than the teacher. And hours. Okay, you know what? This is quick. This dot hours. Whoop. Is equal to. Oh, did we? Yeah, we did print out the hours. Okay, equals. Okay, you at home should go ahead and do the super dot get hours, but just for quickness here, I'm going to just use this dot hours, and then times 2. And I don't think I changed the hours here. So let's run that now. So now we should have, yep, teachers have 80-hour weeks. Poor adjunct teacher works 80 hours and only gets $20,000. All right, so now let's talk about polymorphism a tiny bit here. So I assigned this to an adjunct teacher and this to a teacher and this to an employee. All makes sense. What happens if I do this? Employee. So I'm creating a teacher and assigning it to an employee. Let's go ahead and run and see what happens. Okay, so this employee, this is an employee object, okay? When I assigned it a new teacher, why is it actually printing teacher here? Why didn't it just print employee? It's because it actually is a teacher object. And employee has a toString, but because it's actually a teacher object, the toString that gets called is not the employee object's toString, but instead the teacher object's toString. That's a hard concept for people to get, but that is the essence of polymorphism, is that this employee can masquerade as an employee. It could be a teacher, it could be an adjunct teacher, it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and change this to an employee. Run that. Okay, and sure enough, it does that. Now, you know, I don't really like how it's sticking all these things on here, and really, it's not a good thing to do. So let's change this implementation now. Let's have it be teacher plus. Here, let's just copy this. We're going to do it the right way. It's not really any quicker. Okay, so instead of employee, let's make teacher, and there. Now it says teacher, and similarly, let's go down here. I was just kind of showing you how you could call the toString, but it's not really a good idea. This is adjunct teacher. All right, there's adjunct teacher. All right, so now it's printing out all of those things the correct way. All right, let's also take a look at what happens. So can I just assign willy-nilly to anything? So I can assign this to an employee. Can I assign this to a teacher? Let's try it. Yes, I can. I can assign it to a teacher because a teacher is a superclass of an adjunct teacher. But let's try the same kind of thing here. Instead of assigning it to a teacher, let's make this to an adjunct teacher. Already it's throwing an error. What is that? Type mismatch. Cannot convert teacher to adjunct teacher. Okay, so already the compiler knows you can't do this. The reason why, it's did we add any methods, any new methods? Oh, we didn't get to the methods, did we? We didn't get to the methods. So if I added, I don't think we're going to have enough time to do this, but if I had added a method here, grade onto teacher, and then I could have added another method onto adjunct teacher. So if you add extra methods, then when it tries, let's say adjunct teacher has a method that only adjunct teacher has. If I assign it to an adjunct teacher, then when you actually try to call the adjunct teacher's special method, let's say publish, okay, only adjunct teachers need to publish, not just regular teachers, then this is going to crash because the teacher doesn't have an adjunct teacher publish method. Okay, so that's not going to work. You can only assign it to things that are at or above its class. So I can assign this to employee, okay, or I can assign it to a teacher. Either of those will work. Let's run it with teacher. Okay, so there's teacher. Okay, so we've been at it for 26 minutes. So let's review what we've learned. So what we've learned is we've got superclasses and subclasses, right? Superclasses, you can assign any member of a subclass into a variable of its type superclass. So you can take a teacher and assign it into an employee. You can take an adjunct teacher and assign it into a teacher. You can take an adjunct teacher and assign it to an employee. Okay, all those work. But you cannot assign an employee into a teacher or an adjunct teacher. You can't take a teacher and assign it into an adjunct teacher. Okay, you've got to only assign into things that it is a. So a teacher is an employee, so you can assign it into that. We talked about inheritance, so we're inheriting functions. We talked about how to call the superclass's constructor as well as other constructors in the class. We talked about how you could call and then the inherited toString, although it's not really something you want to do because of reasons I showed you. But basically, you can call any superclass method. You automatically inherit all of the members, all the methods of your superclasses. So you can access all of those. So those of you who are doing this for makeup, please make up this file with all of this and go ahead and attach that in the same way that you did for week. Oh, actually, it's first time for you guys. So look at the video conference instructions for how to attach this Java file. And also, I want you to take this output here and also attach that as well. And don't attach it as a file, just put that into the text. You'll see through the instructions how you can attach a file. You can also put some text there.